Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the bench. And boy, I'll tell you, just about an hour north of where I live, just got a record snowfall in a 24-hour period. They just got 36 inches, or almost 1 meter, of snowfall in a 24-hour period. And they're not done. Today they got another 9 inches. So that's a total of 50 inches. That's taller than my shortest child. And I can tell you, they're really still trying to dig out. Now, we didn't get any snow just an hour south of here, of where they are. But we got very bitter cold. In the Fahrenheit scale, it's in the single digits, and it's very cold, and it's going to be even colder tomorrow. So we're sitting here at the bench and trying to stay warm. So today what we're going to do is actually I had planned on doing this video a while back, but it took an extra couple of weeks for this product to come in. And what this is a soldering station, and it comes to us compliments of the kind folks over at Banggood.com. They sent this to me free of charge, with no other strings attached, other than I feature it in one of my videos. And really, the reason I was interested in this was a couple of things. First of all, was the price. Let me put you onto the page where this thing is listed. Okay, and if you look here, you're not misreading it. It is $18.99 US. And I think that's, with $4.56 shipping charge. The thing that I really liked about this is, number one, it will run on any voltage. Number two, it does not have a transformer in it per se. So it's very, very lightweight. It doesn't weigh very much. And instead of the transformer, like I said, it's got like a switched mode power supply type thing. When I read about it and I looked at it, for the price, it looked very interesting. That's what piqued my interest. And this might be something that maybe, if it turns out to be halfway decent, might be a good product for some of you who are just starting to get into electronics and kind of want to graduate beyond just a plain old soldering pencil, and you want to get into something that has some temperature control. So we're going to test this out, and we're going to see if it's any good or not, and we're going to see if we can recommend it for some of you folks or not. And then yeah, I've never done a giveaway type thing, but I would really love to, when I'm done with this, give it away to one of you viewers that could actually use it and put it to good use on your new bench. So let's do some unboxing here and see just exactly what it is. Okay, the first thing that kind of scared me on this, and let me put a little more light on, might get some glare here for a minute, but it'll go away. The first thing that concerned me a little bit was when I opened the shipping package. I got this device in this box, nicely packed in this box, but another thing fell out, and that was this. We call these the death adapters. This is a universal adapter that'll take your 110 volt AC and adapt it to any kind of connector out there. You have to be careful with these. There's no circuitry in there. It's just a wire. It's just an adapter. So that leads me to wonder what the inside is going to look like. So let's open this up and see. Okay, so we have some instructions here, and they're not going to do me much good because it does show that there's a calibration, and actually I have a temperature calibrator, and it actually looks like the same one that they're referring to, so that's good. But obviously no English instructions. Let's look at this one here. So here is looks like a catalog of some sort. And again, no English as per se. So I guess we're going to be on our own with the instructions unless there's some more in here. Take this out. Okay. So here's the actual pencil itself. And this looks pretty common to most of the, the lower end pencils that you get out there. But I will tell you, this cord actually is I don't know if it's silicone or not, but it is really nice and flexible. It's not a stiff cord at all, even though it's a little bit thicker. Just to kind of compare it to, here's my Hakko. Almost identical. And I'll tell you, flexibility-wise, they feel very similar. So, I don't know how they'll hold up, but it feels really good in the hand. Very nice. There's your basic heating element and the tip that just fell out. And these tips are very common, so I think you can get many different styles of tips for this particular pencil. And actually, it doesn't look like it's put together too bad. It's got some weight to it. Has your basic plug on the end, and again, it feels pretty good. So far, it's got a nice little grip on there. So far, I'm pretty impressed with this part. I don't know how it's going to work, but not bad. Okay, let's get into the next part. Okay, so this is the main power unit. Oh, and by the way, I failed to give you the actual product ID. Let's do that real quick. I apologize. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So if you look, the product ID on this is a 1093556, and again, $18.99 US at Banggood.com. So just to show you that. So let's go back down here. Again, $19 for a temperature controlled station. Okay, and now you can see why you got the depth adapter. So I guess they're assuming that they just want us to, wow, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And this one, well, it has an earth prong on it, but we don't know if it's connected to anything until we get it apart. This, obviously, there's a place for the earth prong to go, but this is only a 2-prong plug. So really, guys, if you want to use this thing, don't use one of these adapters. Cut the cord off, cut the end off, and attach the type of cord that matches the type of power plug that you use in your country. That's what I would recommend. Now, just for test purposes, I'll do this, but certainly I can't recommend this for anybody. Okay, I'm not going to. I just don't want to disassemble anything right now for that, or cut anything yet. If you look, another thing that impresses me, a lot of these stations that you buy from online, from eBay or Banggood, they're voltage specific, so they'll either work on 110, 125 or 220, 240. And if you order the wrong one, unfortunately it won't work in your country because they're transformer based. This is very, very light. It feels like there's nothing in there. But because it has a switched mode power supply, that allows us to not, it'll work on any voltage. So any place you take this, it will work. And that was the first thing that impressed me. And the second thing impressed me was it has a calibration pot. So you can technically calibrate the temperature on this. And it was very inexpensive. Okay, let's take the next part out. I'm going to assume this is, this is the stand. Again, no English, no anything but Chinese. And I don't speak Chinese, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to tell you folks what these things say. I'm sure those are some pretty useful instructions, but all right, I'm assuming this goes in here like this. So let's plug that in, and it comes with a little sponge, and when you soak these, they swell up. They'll fill this whole little bin down here. Now, another thing I have to say is I'm not highly impressed with these plastic stands that come with all of these low-end soldering stations. When you put this in here, if you push it in a little bit too far and this comes in contact, you can see how it can touch. See that? It will melt. It will melt this plastic totally. So just be aware of that. When you put this in there, make sure it's straight in here and it doesn't do this, or the cord doesn't bind and pull it, like this. Or if you go like that, it's going to melt. Okay? Or you can just get yourself a better stand. But for what it is, it'll work. Just be careful. So let's connect this up, turn it on, and just see how it works before we disassemble anything. And we'll go from there, huh? Again, it goes kind of against everything I believe in to use one of these adapters, but we'll give it a whirl, huh? So let me plug it in, and we'll turn this. Let's turn this up to about, it's already on. So let's turn this up to about 600 Fahrenheit. Okay. And there's a green LED. Now, I don't know if this changes colors when it's heating or heated. I don't know any of that yet. But let's just first of all try to melt a little bit of solder on here. I'm getting smoke off of the tip already, so that's a good sign. Very good. Wow, that heated up really fast. That heated up really fast. I'm impressed. So let's let that cook. Now, once again, folks, these tips are not real high-end. The coating on them, although it's very good, it's not very thick coating on there. So whenever you're going to let this thing sit like this at temperature, and you can see it's flashing now. So apparently when it's turning, when it's green, when the light's lit, it's heating, and when the light's out, it is at temperature. So you can see it just cycling on and off, on and off. Now, like I was saying, if you're going to store this like this, heated, make sure you leave a little bit of solder on that tip and leave it tinned. Even though it looks grungy and dirty, it's going to protect that coating, that plating on that tip, and it's going to make your tips last a lot longer. If you clean the tip before you should clean the tip before you solder, but after you go to put it back in the stand, put a little bit on there and just kind of let it sit like that. That crud isn't going to hurt anything. Leave it in there, and your tips should last a lot longer. Now, let's take a look and see. I'm going to set this dial as close to 600 as I can. And I'm going to bring this in. And I've tried this before and tested it against some other thermocouples and things, and believe it or not, this is pretty accurate. So we're at about let's see, 325 Celsius. Okay, this measures in Celsius, so we have to do C. And let's put this, just clean it a little bit and leave a little tiny bit on there. Let's touch this on. So you can see it's a little bit hot. It's running 347, and we actually have it set to 325. So there's where your calibration is going to come into play. So if we look in here, there's a tiny little pot, and I should be able to get in there with a little tweaker and adjust it a little bit. So all we're going to do is put that little screwdriver in there, if we can find it. Yeah, I need a little bit bigger one than that. It's a little bit not lined up with the hole, so we're going to, okay. All right, so now I've turned it down. Now I don't know how much I've turned it down, but let's blow on it a little bit and see where we're at. Okay, that made it too low. You see that? So this adjustment does work. So we're about 268, 270. So now let's turn this up just a little bit more. Okay. And you can see how fast it cycles on and off. Not yet. Nope, we're way too low now. So let me turn it up. It really makes a difference, doesn't it? Okay. Still got to go more. This is really hard because you can't feel if you're actually turning it or not. Wait till that shuts off. Okay. Sorry. Nope, I went too much again. Alright, let's turn it down a little bit. Let me get this adjusted and we'll come back in. Okay, I'm set at 325, and you can see it's right around 324, 325. Okay, we're good. So it took a little bit of fiddling around, and you have to wait for the iron to cool and then start cycling again and just make little adjustments, and it'll actually come in pretty good. So that's a good thing. Once again, as you notice on here, we get some nice warnings, and you see how that just kicked sideways? That's exactly how you can cause this to melt. Don't ask me how I know. I've owned one of these lower end stations before with one of these holders like that. So there's a warning here, but unfortunately I can't read it, and I'm sure there's something important here and I can't read it, but there is a web address on here And let's see, can you see that? Is it focused? HTTP, let's see, Foxtrot Zulu Charlie Zulu Delta Zulu .1688.com. So let's go onto that website and see if there's some English instructions. Going to that address, you get this page, which there is a little bit of English on there, and you can do some translating, but once again, I don't see any English documents that we can download. So I don't think, let's see here. Nope. It does not look. There we go. It is doing, Google is translating somewhat, but there are no English manuals, looks like, available here. So, nope. Well, we tried, I guess. So there's the answer to that. And if we scroll down on the Banggood page, let's see, there are tips, and you can see you can buy a 5-piece set of tips for $3.24 US, which is, like I said, you know, they're almost disposable at that price. But I do not see any kind of instructions available. So we'll have to be on our own on this. But anyway, so far it's working. Let's do a little bit of soldering with it before we'll take it apart in the end, but let's do a little bit of soldering and see what we think. I have an old switch mode power supply board here with some components removed, and I just have a wire mounted in here, and we're just going to solder this in to see how it just does on a regular pad here. We'll clean the tip, and we'll just go in there and see how it works. And there you go. Let's see. There you go. And there it is, and you can see did a fairly good job. The wire's nice and tight. Now let's try using a little solder braid, because this stuff's always takes a lot of heat to get it to work. And let's see if we can remove a component with it. We'll put a little drop of this stuff on there. That froze up. Okay, put a drop of that on there. And let's see if we can clean this off. Okay. There it goes. Okay. Now, of course, I don't have the heat turned up very high on this iron. It's only running about half. And the reason I'm doing that is when you work on these boards, you don't want to turn your iron up to a really high temperature. Number one, it'll burn the tip faster, but number two, too much heat will cause these tracks to delaminate from the board. So you want to try, the idea is a good iron can maintain that heat even when you have a load on it, when you have something sinking that heat away. That's called thermal recovery. And a couple ways you can get good thermal recovery is by either A, having good thermal mass, meaning you have a big tip with a big piece of metal that can store a lot of heat in that mass, or by having electronically enough energy to maintain that temperature. So that this Hakko iron that I use in all my videos, it's a very small tip or a very small iron when you look at it, but because of the way it's designed, it has a lot faster thermal recovery, and therefore when we use it, you can see how fast it just pulls the solder right off the board. See that? Look how quick. Now that's one of the differences. See how clean that is now? And I could just pick that right up with my finger. See it? And it'll come right out. Now, we're going to turn the heat up a little bit on this. And we're going to try to do this again with this iron. And we'll do another one here. Let's do this one right here. And it heated up pretty fast. And you can see it's getting it. It just takes a little bit longer at the same temperature setting. So you can see it does work. Just doesn't quite have the thermal recovery. But again, $18 iron, $300 iron, or $250 anyway. A little bit different. But that being said, here's the one we just did with that with the new iron, and you can see, focus, you can see it did it. Just took a little bit longer, but it's working. And the other thing is, a conical tip versus a chisel tip. I think if we had a chisel tip for this iron, that would make a big difference also. So far, this iron is performing really well. Okay, so now let's try to do a larger solder joint. Let's try to get a nice puddle of solder on this track right here, because it's a pretty big track. And actually, I'm going to use a little bit thicker gauge solder for this. So just give it a little bit more of a hard time, huh? So let's do that. Wow. Look at that. And I kind of want to get this in the shot here so you can see how this power cycles as we're really absorbing a lot of the heat. And you can see with all this mass in here, it's still staying ahead of it because it's cycling on and off. Not bad. Let's use a little piece of copper board now. Okay, so here's some copper clad, and we're going to see how big of a puddle we can get on this now. And this copper really sucks the solder up, or the heat up, pretty fast. And you can see sorry, I'm working around the camera here too, guys. Not my best work. But you can see that's all wet. Look at that. That really heated that up well. And I don't have this cranked all the way up. So there you have it. Now, I wish I had some more tips to try some different size tips, some of the larger tips. Unfortunately, this kit only comes with a conical tip. So my suggestion, if you go to order one of these, go ahead and spring for the extra $3.50 and get a set of tips with it too. It's because that should be, that'll give you a little more options there. But so far so good. It performs very well. Now, we don't know how long this will last, but for $18, even if it lasts a year, to have a new soldering station every year for $18 a year, $19 a year, $20, whatever you want to call it, not bad. So let's unplug this and let's open it up and see what it's like. Now, again, I really like the pencil that came with it. It feels really good in the hand. It's got some heft to it, but it's lightweight. It's not uncomfortable to use. It's got a good connector, good strain reliefs. It has adjustable temperature that you can calibrate. So all good things. Very lightweight. It works on pretty much any mains voltage. So let's take, looks like we have 4 screws on the bottom. Let me take those screws out and let's check it out. Okay, we've got the 4 screws out. I'm just going to toss them in this little thing here. And there it is. Now, this looks relatively simple. Just kind of looks like your average run-of-the-mill power supply. Switch mode. This heatsink is just teeny little bit warm, and it's unplugged, don't worry. Let's see. There's, just looking at the capacitors, and they're 105, if you can believe that. These are 105 degree capacitors, which I think is pretty good. Now, they don't, of course, they're no name, but certainly the build quality looks pretty good. Let's take it a little bit further apart and see what's underneath. All right, we have the board out, and I have to say, so far, I'm pretty impressed. The resistors all seem to be metal film resistors, which are very good. You have the 2 electrolytics are 105C capacitors. There's a, looks like an XY type, let me see, it's an X2 capacitor for your safety capacitor. It is fused. There's actually a little fuse inside here. We have a negative temperature coefficient thermistor to limit your inrush current. So there is actually, and a choke, so you actually have very good protection. The cord, the way it leads in, this would be very, very simple to just get a cord off of a, like an old computer cord or something like that, and cut the end off, and you can actually just unsolder these 3 wires and replace them with a new cord, and then you won't have to cut the end off of this if you don't want. So that would be another option. This would be very easy. The strain relief was just this little piece of plastic, and it fit underneath here and just kind of clamps the wire down. So yeah, it would be very easy to replace the power cord on this. Everything is modular, so you can unplug the display unit and the pot just like this. So these 2 leads, and as you can see, it looks to be just a 2 lead. That's your power for your iron, and I don't know if this has temperature feedback, but I would have to say that it must, of some sort, which is all taking place on this little board. And you can see there's more to this board there's capacitors on it. There's several chips. So your temperature control is all taking place up here. And you're feeding the 24 volts into the board, which in place is feeding into here. The connector, yeah. So even as long as this nut is tight here, this should not, because some of these ones, the design is such that the way, plugging in and unplugging this will cause these solder joints to come loose on the back of the board. But the way this board is put together, I don't think you're going to have any of those problems on this. It's actually fit in there really well. You can see. So just plugging this and unplugging it isn't going to put any force on these pins. Now, I'm not going to take it apart so far as to look at the chip numbers or anything like that, but suffice it to say that so far this doesn't look like a bad design. Nice sized heatsink. This is, let's look at get some light on the subject. 5N60, 5N60. Let's see if we can look that up and see what that is. So if we look here, that 5N60 is a 5 amp 600 volt N channel power MOSFET, which very good specs on it. So that's going to be for your switched mode down here. Nice sized diodes. These look like to be at least 3 amp diodes. If we look at the soldering work on the back, very neat. They mark off the high voltage sections. They have some isolation slots cut into the board in the necessary areas. You can see. So, and it actually has a physical earth ground, and the earth ground, so here's your earth ground. Let's see if we can follow this. Here's your earth ground, here's the track. It goes straight over to here, and if you look, that goes to this pin, which goes to this board here. So believe it or not, this iron is actually grounded. It is proper, and it does say that it's ESD safe on the front, but you really can't believe that a lot. But I would have to say that this is not, I don't know, there's no way I could order these parts for $20 and make this. I mean, you couldn't. It's not possible. So what I'm seeing right here is this is a really nice little iron. It's a really nice soldering station for $20. I mean, my goodness, I'm really impressed. So let's get it back together. And check a few more things. So what are my thoughts on this thing? Well, to be honest, the one thing YouTube doesn't need is another cheap soldering station review. And I will say I've had quite a few of the low-end soldering stations. Ones from here in the States, like Radio Shack and so forth, and the ones that you buy on eBay and so forth. And the common thread with most of them is they use a linear power supply with a transformer. They're not bad, but most of them do not have proper grounding. Some of them, the ground isn't even, or the earthing connection is not even connected. Some of them don't even have fuses in them. They don't have proper board layout. They don't have proper, like the thermistor and all these things. This particular unit, for its price, has all of the above. And you know, for a beginner, for somebody just starting out, it has decent thermal recovery. We could see the tips are very inexpensive. It's very lightweight. The only couple negatives that I could say was it would be nice if there were some instructions in different languages. You know, at least maybe English, Spanish, German, you know, in addition to the Chinese and so forth, several different languages that at least there would be one that you could read, you know, no matter who you were. But you know, it's pretty self-explanatory how it works, though, so I don't give it a big problem with that. This has the same stand that all of the low-end stations have. It's better than not having a stand at all, but I would probably prefer the one with the metal spring, you know, that you put the iron in. You could probably upgrade to one of those very inexpensively, but this will work in the meantime. Just don't let it go like that, or don't let it touch. It'll melt right through the plastic. But if you put it in there properly, it will work just fine. It comes with a cleaning sponge, and you know, you can just cut a little hole out of the middle before you soak it while it's thin like this. You just use a razor knife and just cut a little square out or a little hole in the middle, and then maybe give it a little bit of a chamfer, and then you can soak it in water, and that will actually make a pretty nice little tip cleaner. You can adjust the temperature on it, you know, calibrate it. You would need some sort of a thermistor for your, you know, thermistor for your voltmeter. They do make such a thing, by the way. Even some of the real cheap multimeters have temperature measurement on them, or you can get one of these. This is not a Hacko. It says it is, but this is a made in China, and it was well, actually says this one made in Japan. I kind of doubt that. I purchased this on eBay a long time ago, and I think I paid $10 or something, but it works. It really works. So you will need something like that to properly calibrate the temperature of this, and I would highly recommend doing that, because you don't want to overheat those circuit boards, so you don't cause the tracks to lift off. But this is pretty much everything you need to get started in electronics with soldering. It'll do everything you need to do. I could easily see myself soldering terminal strips and vacuum tube sockets in vacuum tube amplifiers. It has a nice small tip that you could use for solid state equipment. It has plenty of thermal recovery, so that's a good thing. So all in all, it's got a nice light that tells you when it's cycling and so forth. The temperature seems to be able to be calibrated pretty well. I give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments, and you know, I would love to be able to share this soldering iron with somebody who really needs it. I don't know how to do these little programs that randomly pick things, but I'm willing to learn. So if you're all interested in this, just in the comments section, just start your comment with the word giveaway, Giveaway, giveaway. And the only thing I ask is, if you're somebody who already has a good station, or you know, doesn't need it, try not to enter into the drawing, because my intent is to give this to somebody who really needs it, who's starting out. You know, I'm trying to inspire new people to get into electronics. I mean, that's one of the main purposes of my station here, my YouTube channel, is to try to inspire others to start doing electronics, and also to try to exchange information with other talented, intelligent people that I can learn from. So it's a two-way street with this YouTube channel. So this one is definitely for the purpose of helping others that need one. So just put the word giveaway at the beginning of the comments. I'll give it a couple of weeks, and then hopefully I'll figure a way to randomly pick somebody from the list, and I'll be happy to ship this, and I will cover the shipping charges anywhere in the continental United States. If we have to leave the country, if somebody outside of the U.S. gets to win this, you'll be responsible for the shipping charges and so forth to get it to you. But other than that, I hope this helped you all out. I hope this turned you all on to a new product that might help you get something you otherwise thought you may not be able to afford. And as always, I wish you all peace, joy, happiness, and good health in your lives. I thank you all for watching and continuing to support my channel. And once again, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. We got plenty of videos coming. Take care. Bye-bye.